16. Give me another name. The private parking lot of Rajvanshi Enterprises had never seen a storm before, until now. A sleek, obsidian, black car screeched to a halt, its engine growling like a beast, awakened. The polished surface gleamed under the high-rise lights, mirroring a storm that hadn't even stepped out yet. Rana's men, stoic, royal guards trained to remain unfazed, lifted their heads. Instincts sharpened, and in the very next breath, the car door slammed open, like a battle cry in silence. Aaravi Rajvanshi stepped out, not walked, emerged, like a sword drawn straight from its sheath. Her movements held the grace of war and the elegance of royalty. Her silhouette was framed in a fitted black sari that whispered danger. Every fold of fabric moved like a threat. Her eyes stormy and relentless, her expression an exquisite blend of fury and control. The entire executive floor froze. She wasn't Ayansh Rajvanshi's niece today. She was the queen of Mewar, and she had come for war. Her presence dripped with something ancient and sacred. Her thick royal tresses cascaded like a night sky touched by moonlight. A crimson bindi burned like a mark of power on her forehead. Anklets kind with each step, soft yet striking, a melody that could cut glass. Even the air seemed to step aside as she moved. Rana approached, instinctively bowing his head. Khammaghani, Hukum Rani Sa. He greeted, voice respectful. Rajasa is in the conference room. Aaravi didn't wait. Her heels echoed like war drums across the marble floors. And then, bang! The doors burst open with thunderous crash. The room fell silent. Breaths paused. Time for one eerie moment. Stop. Inside sat a table full of business magnates. Mid-discussion, across them, with his back turned, was Ayansh Rajvanshi, the king, the empire, her mama son. The magnates' eyes widened at the vision in the doorway. A goddess cloaked in vengeance. Their admiration was immediate, their fear deeper. But Aaravi didn't care. Her eyes locked on the only man who mattered. The only man who had taught her how to rule, and now stood as the storm she had to face. Her voice was steady, sharp, regal. I need to speak with you, Mama Sa. A single phrase. The room's temperature dropped. Ayansh didn't turn. Not yet. But his stillness changed, like a predator who had just sent intrusion in his den. His voice, when it finally came, was a brutal whisper cloaked in thunder. Get out. The men flinched. Some even looked towards the exit instinctively. But Aaravi didn't move. Her heart skipped. Was it because she interrupted the meeting? Was this rage for her? A flicker of guilt passed through her. Queens do not barge. They summon. They reign with silence, not noise. Her eyes dropped just briefly. Her anklet sang a soft, ashamed note as she prepared to turn and leave. But then, Ayan spoke again. This time, the growl was unmistakable. Not you, Rani Sa. His gaze never wavered. Everyone else? Get out now. The command carved through the air like gelatin. The men froze. Rajvanshi's favor was the reason their empires flourished. To test that favor was suicide. Chairs screeched backwards. Files were grabbed in haste. No one dared utter a word. They just obeyed. Aaravi stood silent, watching them scramble like insects flee at the strike of a single matchstick. This was the real Ayansh Rajvanshi, not the businessman, not the beloved uncle, but the king. The room emptied, the door shut behind the last trembling guest, and still he didn't look at her. Ayansh finally rose. his moments deliberate, his suit clinging to his tall frame like an extension of power itself, his eyes burning coal set in ice, turned not to her, but to Rana. "Until I step out to summon," he said, voice now metallic. No one enters. Rana bowed again. "Agya hukam." "Command, Your Highness." And with that, the door locked. Now, only two remained inside. Two storms, two legacies, and the silence between them, thick enough to drown in. When Ayan's eyes finally met Aaravi's, it felt like the world paused, just to witness the collision. Fire met fire. His fury wasn't just visible, it was felt. Breathing beside him was dangerous. And yet, Aaravi didn't blink. She stood still, her chin raised, her eyes locked on his like a queen walking into the lion's den, not to escape, but to claim it. Her voice dropped, a blade. "You came here, without notice, without a word. You barged into my empire." "I had no choice," she replied, calm but trembling inside. "You stopped answering when I needed you the most." "You needed me?" His laugh was dry. "You mean you disobeyed me again?" "I followed my conscience." "That's not what others do," he snapped, stepping closer. "They follow the crown." "No," she said firmly, voice rising with passion. "They follow truth." Another step. He was now inches from her, and when his hand reached out, not to touch, but to warn, she didn't step back. The tension between them was no longer familial. It was primal, wounded, fractured, a bond shattered between king and queen, and something else neither of them could name. "If you were anyone else," Ayan murmured, eyes burning into her, "you wouldn't have made it past the gate." "If I were anyone else," she whispered back, "you wouldn't care this much." That broke something in him. The silence that followed wasn't peace. It was a battle on pause. One that hadn't ended. Just begun. She hadn't come here for forgiveness. Not for water, not for mercy, and certainly not for him. Aaravi Rajvanshi stood inside the lion's den, not as a wounded niece seeking solace, but as a queen demanding what was rightfully hers. The silence between them wasn't hollow. It screamed. It growled. It threatened to tear down the walls. Her breaths were sharp, measured, each one whispering an unspoken vow. "If you can scorch me with silence, I can burn down your entire throne." Ayan's lips curved into something wicked. Not a smile, no. This was something darker, something ancient, the kind of smirk that said, "Welcome to my game." He took a step forward. The floor seemed to quake beneath his command. The room shrank. The air turned vicious, but Aaravi, she didn't flinch, didn't blink, didn't bend. She stood tall, spine straight, eyes locked like blades unsheathed. "So, you came." His voice was laced with ice, the kind of chill that sinks into your bones. Finally, he circled her slow, calculating, like a predator intrigued by its prey's audacity. She didn't break eye contact. "Yes, I came, not to beg, not to explain, but to claim what's mine." Ayanch arched a brow. "Claim? My right." Her voice was velvet over steel. "To speak, to breathe, to exist in this house without your silent shackles." There was pain in her voice, yes, but it was wrapped in defiance. Power. She was no longer the obedient girl under her shadow. She was the fire he had unknowingly set ablaze. Ayan stilled. Then he moved, so sudden, so swift. In one breathless second, he closed the distance between them, his hand snaking around her waist and yanking her toward him. Her body slammed against his, hard, heated, commanding. Her palms instinctively caught his shoulders. But it wasn't out of fear. It was balance. It was trust. Her lips parted in a silent gasp as his face hovered, a heartbeat away. His breath coasted her skin, hot, possessive, dangerous. "You think I caged you?" he whispered, low and lethal. "You're not a pet, are we? You're the most beautiful tempest I've ever seen." His voice dropped lower, darker. "And if I must buy the whole sky to keep your wings flying, I will. But the direction? That is mine to choose." Her eyes widened. Those wasn't words of care. They were claims. Obsessions disguised as poetry. She struggled for breath, for reason, but her voice, when it came, was steady despite the tremor in her heart. "Then tell me, what was my crime? Why the punishment? Why the waterless torment?" Her lips twisted into a slow, cruel smile. "You started the war, Ranisa." And just like that, the veil lifted. She remembered. The chilly incident. That quiet rebellion of hers in the morning. The laughter, the challenge. "I couldn't drink water, even with it right in front of me," he murmured, brushing his thumb gently under her jaw, almost lovingly, but with the grip of a man who could destroy. But the taste of betrayal was hotter than spice. He leaned closer, the heat of him suffocating. "I didn't deny you water, Aaravi. I simply made a rule. If you want it, you come to me. And look," his breath brushed her ear like sin. "You came. One way or another, you came." Aaravi froze. Her spine arched, her eyes ablaze. She wasn't sure whether it was fury or desire burning in her veins. But this man, this king, he was no longer the Mamasa of her childhood. He was the devil dressed in royalty, sharp, strategic, seductive. He didn't just hold power, he was power. A snake in velvet robes, a lion in human skin. And she was the only one brave enough to bare her throat. Aaravi tried to free herself from his arms. Her palms pressed against his chest, but Ayan's grip only grew stronger around her waist, like a man who had chained destiny to his will. His hold wasn't violent. It was possessive, inevitable, like a crown claiming its rightful queen. "Let me go, Mamasa," she said, through clenched teeth, her voice laced with defiance, but underneath it, a tremble. A betrayal of the storm she was trying to contain inside. Ayan didn't flinch. His eyes, dark and piercing, stayed locked on hers. There was something dangerous in his eyes. Something ancient, something regal. "One condition," he murmured. Aaravi's breath hitched. "Another condition?" he snapped, her frustration spilling out. "Are your games ever going to end?" But Ayan only smiled. That slow, devastating smile that could silence thunder. The kind that made you forget you were in war until it was too late. "This one will grant you both. The things that you came for," he said softly. "Water and freedom." Her eyes narrowed. "Both?" He nodded, casually lifting a glass of water from the table. His fingers brushed the rim. Languid, intimate, as if he was still tracing the curves of her waist. "Your thirst quenched, and your release granted," he said, then held the glass before her lips. "All I ask in return is this one vow." Aaravi felt something shift inside her. "What vow?" Ayan stepped closer, his voice lowering to something between a command and a confession. "Stop calling me Mamasa." The word struck her like lightning. "You're my wife," he said, each syllable cold, deliberate. "Tell me, Aaravi, does any wife in this world address her husband like an uncle in front of the world?" His voice wrapped around her like smoke, thick, suffocating, and yet addictive. The silence between them was thunderous. She froze. Her lips parted, unsure if they were forming a protest or a prayer. But But this relationship, it's always been. Say it, he interrupted. Voice quiet but absolute. His brows arched but dangerous calm. What will you call me now, Ranisa? Tears welled in Aaravi's eyes. Not because she was weak, but because she wasn't sure if her heart would ever be hers again. She had never wanted to submit to him, but now there was a flicker of want tangled in chaos. A desire so raw it felt blasphemous. Her throat ached with emotion. I don't know. I've always said Mama Sa. It's what we. But the words didn't reach the end of that sentence. Ayan set the glass down slowly, his fingers trembling with restraint. Then his hand rose, not to dominate but to touch. His fingers grazed her cheek, feather soft, but the heat beneath the touch was scorching. She shivered. She could have stopped him. She should have. It was written in the contract, boundaries, rules, and the illusion of control, and yet she stood frozen, as if her body no longer belonged to her, as if every breath was echoing his name now, not her own. You can call me anything, Ayansh whispered. His thumb brushed away a tear that hadn't even fallen. But not Mama Sa, not anymore. His voice wasn't loud, but it shook her world. It was a command without cruelty, a plea without pride, a truth so bare even silence turned to witness. Aaravi closed her eyes. Her heart was beating so fast she feared it would tear through her ribs. Her lips trembled, trying to resist. But then they moved. One word. Soft, broken, surrendered. Hukum sa. Time stopped. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It roared like a storm inside both of them. Ayan didn't move. He didn't smile. He didn't gloat. Because that word, that one name had undone him, shattered the last of his pride. Hukum sa, the title of a king, given not by lineage, but by love. And for the first time, when he looked at Aaravi, he didn't see a girl from the past. He saw his wife, not by contract, by curse, by craving, by choice. When a name becomes a touch, and a woe becomes a wound, love isn't spoken, it bleeds. If your heart stopped the moment she whispered Hukum sa, drop a heart in the comments and tell me, is this the beginning of her surrender or his?
Married to My Uncle, A Contract Marriage. Listen to the full audiobook on YouTube or Pratilipi FM. Alfazo ka Safarnama.